Welcome to the LumiCast, your premier gateway to the universe of limitless photo editing. Dive into the galaxy of Luminar software and the dynamic world of AI photo editing. Join us weekly for a burst of creativity and the drive to transform your photos with confidence and skill. Broadcasting directly from Clever Photographer headquarters, it's time to welcome your hosts, Jakub and Holly Linton.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of LumiCast, the podcast where we talk about photography, photo editing, and Luminar Neo. I'm Holly Linton, your host from Tennessee, USA, and Jakub Bors is next to me virtually. Founder of Clever Photographer. You all know him. Hi, Jakub. How are you doing?
Hello. I can see the snow behind the window already. How about that?
I think you're lying, but that's a good segue into today's topic. We're going to talk about keeping your camera and camera gear safe in the winter. And I wanted to say, winter is coming, Jon Snow, for any of you Game of Thrones fans out there. And we're talking about winter not in Florida, like where it's warm. We're talking about actual winter where people are freezing. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Maybe you'll learn a little something you didn't know. So,
yeah, definitely.
What do you think, Jakub?
I'm really looking forward to it. My experience is coming mostly from living in Scotland, where we get all sorts of weather, generally around 0 degrees, snow, sleet, wind, rain, all of that together. But also Czech Republic, where we get that 1.5 meter of snow and minus 15, minus 20 degrees. I'm going to use all of this experience to try to tell you how I think that you should try to keep your gear safe.
All right. Well, winter, I think, is a really pretty time of year to take pictures. So we shouldn't be afraid to go out there, but it can be a little dangerous if you're exposing your gear to the elements. Obviously, dropping it in the snow is not a good idea. But so before even leaving our house to go out there on a shoot, what would be some tips you have for storing our gear, handling it?
Good. Let's start from the beginning. Probably one thing I should mention right away is the insurance. We're going to talk about that a little bit later, but coming back to the episode we did, I think around mid-summer about traveling with your gear, this is very similar. Obviously, this type of weather, rain, snow, humidity, temperature has another whole level of possibilities of what can happen with your gear. So I think it's a good idea to get it insured and protected. But once you have that, then it's time to think about how to prepare to go out. First thing, which is really important, is to know your gear. So there is a weather sealed gear and there is a kind of gear which is not so weather sealed. And even though later I'm going to say that actually you shouldn't count on it anyway, it's good to know what your camera can or cannot handle. I have to say that most of the recent cameras will be perfectly fine in a normal winter weather. Like a temperature will not hurt them and slight humidity will not hurt them neither. But standing in a heavy snowfall can be a little bit tricky. So you should find out about your camera, about your gear, and find out how weather sealed they actually are. Once you know that, then it's time to pack. Now, this will be, again, very similar like for the traveling. Obviously, you want to put your stuff into one of these bags. One, in my case, 26 in Holly's. And here, so any of the equipment which is maybe not weather sealed or is made out of material which can be affected by humidity, I would actually pack them in like a sealable bags. You know, you can buy them in a dollar store or, you know, it's just these things that you put the food in and you basically close them in there. If you want to be special careful, you can put inside these little sachet with silica, which actually absorb the humidity. And so you can have this sealable bag, this little bag of, I don't know, you've seen it in when you buy a new bag. So it's like a little pocket which has a little plastic balls inside, like not plastic, but
gel pack.
You know, so you can buy gel pack. And you can actually buy a bag of like 1,000 of them for a few dollars. So you put them inside and you put inside your filters and maybe you put inside your cloths, like wiping cloths and so on. And then for the rest of the gear, like your camera and your lens, because you already know what it can or can't face, it's perfectly fine to just have it inside of the bag. So nothing crazy here, nothing special here. Just take a bag which is to some degree water resistant. Pack your gear as you normally do. And any gear that is a little bit humidity, let's say it can get affected by humidity, pack it in these sealable bags, maybe with the silica.
I know that there's sealable bags like the Ziploc bags. They do come bigger than gallon size. Typically, people just see what you see in the grocery store, but I know in the dollar stores and other places, you can get like giant ones. So if you did have your telephoto lens on or your wildlife lens, you could get a bigger bag so you could fit it and seal it up properly. All right. So as we head outdoors with this stuff, and kind of, if I could actually add before you leave the house, I would probably say check the radar. You don't want to be out there in a blizzard, right?
Or maybe you do. It depends on what you're trying to photograph.
Yeah, maybe you do. Make sure you bring matches so you can start a fire if you get trapped out there. But as far as being out in the elements, then, if it is snowing or sleeting, you might want to bring some other items with you, making sure you have your lens hood on. You might need, would people actually shoot with an umbrella? Not a camera umbrella, but like a real umbrella. And have if your stuff's on a tripod, you can kind of protect some of your gear with an umbrella, I guess. Gloves and proper shoes so that you don't slip and fall and break your camera or break your leg, I guess. Or break your arm. Then you won't be able to shoot in the winter anymore. I don't know if you had any tips too. I've seen like people, you breathe on your glasses to clean them off. You shouldn't breathe on your front of your camera, I don't think.
Yeah,
if it's cold.
That's a big no-no, yeah. That's a big no-no. Okay, so this is a good one because obviously with the rain and with the snow and with the humidity, the front lens can get foggy or it can just get a water drops. And I see people do all sorts of things, this kind of noise, and then they use their gloves to clean it and they use their jacket. I mean, you spend several $1,000s or pounds or euros on your gear and then you go on the lens with this. It's just not a great idea. Never mind that it will never really be cleaned properly. The only right way to do it, okay, there are two options. One, which is not necessarily very nature friendly, are those one-time use wipes. You can actually have like a 20 in your pocket. You take them off, you open it, and they are soaked in a very specific liquid. Mostly it's like a combination of alcohol and something. And when you wipe it, it actually creates a specific coat on your lens, which very quickly dry and you can keep taking pictures. But I'm not a massive fan of them because, as I say, they are just not very nature friendly. They get left behind and they are all over the place. So what I like to do is I have 3 lens cloths designated just for this. I have them in a specific pocket, and that's all I use them for is wiping the front of the lens. Nothing else. No wiping the camera, no anything else. They are just for the lens. And generally, I go through the 3 because they get wet quite quickly, but they last for the one photo shoot. So I know that in this pocket, I have this lens, which is just for the front of the lens, and that's all I use it for. And that's probably the safest way to do it. So no breathing, no using your gloves, no using your jumper, none of that, because you will just scratch the lens and damage it.
But the point of putting it in the Ziploc lens to begin with, though, isn't that to bring it out into the cold already in the Ziploc bag, so that it's acclimating to the temperature? Somehow it does some miraculous thing because if you just brought it out without a bag, it could all fog up or freeze. But if you have it in the bag and just wait like a certain period of time, then take it out of the bag, then maybe it won't fog up.
Definitely. And then actually talking about taking out of the bag, this is definitely a situation where you want to take out only what you need in that very moment. So you open the bag somewhere safe, in a car or under some kind of shelter, or maybe you're leaning over. You just take out what you need and then you very quickly close everything, put it back on your back and just use what you need. Because I see people opening their bags completely, some of these bags, they kind of open so you can see all the gear. I think those are not great for snow and winter. Some people leaving their bags open, pulling out additional kit. No, when you go out in these winter conditions, you just take out of the camera only thing what you need for that specific shot. Because I think that's the safest way to do it.
And I know that the tripods, the 2 I have that I don't use yet, they have spiked feet. So I assume most tripods have that. So that might be something you might have in your drawer somewhere because you don't use it often. Find those spiked feet just in case you're in an icier area. You might need to use those.
Yes. So be careful about the spiked feet, because on one side they're great. They work on when it's icy. At the same time, on all the other surfaces, they just really easily sink in out of them all because they're pointy, so they go straight in. So I never really use them. I never been on ice, but just be careful with them. because, they just make it much easier to sink into anything you want.
All right. Then just disregard what I just said about the spiked feet.
No, it's a great learning.
No. And then what else? There was one other thing I was going to say about gloves. Now, it should come as no surprise. I have a bunch of different gloves that I wear when I'm out shooting, but I do have the fingerless gloves, but they also have a little thing where you can convert it to a mitten.
Okay.
So my left hand, I can keep my left hand pretty warm, completely covered, but if I need to, I can easily take the top of the mitten off. I don't know if they make those for men, but I know they would make fingerless gloves for men. So I like using that type of glove when I'm shooting so that my fingertips are free to press all my buttons.
Oh, gloves. Gloves is my never-ending challenge. So I get generally cold first from my fingers. Different people differ. Some people from feet and head on whatever. Me, it's the fingers. And obviously you're shooting, so you're using them. And Holly, I went probably through 20, 30 different gloves, and I still haven't found a perfect match yet. Everything from knitted and super like pro and no pro. And I even asked my mom to knit one set for me and try. And just, either they get wet very quickly and then you cold, or they just very kind of, the shape isn't great for actually controlling the camera with them. Some of the new cameras have a touch screen, and maybe the touch screen, doesn't work with these gloves.
Yes.
And I also seen gloves, and I had the gloves where you have this kind of points on this, was it index, where you have this area which you can use for the mobile phones, but actually that area is more revealed. So you get cold from there quite quickly. So I haven't found the best ones yet. My friend bought mittens, which you can kind of cover and uncover in Norway, and he pray by them. He thinks they are the best gloves ever. So maybe I will need to try them. But generally, I have to say the gear from these countries, Scandinavia and north of Scotland and Iceland, generally they are good quality because they test them and they know how to get them. So I would suggest to check out things there. Just to finish on the glove thing, great thing to use are these hand warmers. You can buy them in these little pouches. You crack it, or you actually sometimes take it out, and the moment it gets on the air, it starts to create heat. But I like the one that you can rewarm. So you can actually put them inside of the gloves, and that keeps you nice and warm. I really enjoyed it.
Okay. Well, let's get talking about batteries and power, because I know the cold air zaps your battery power really quickly, doesn't it? So what you were just talking about, using those heat packets, can you, if you had those in your pocket, and then keep your camera batteries in your pockets versus in your bag, just so it's creating a little body heat? Is that right?
Definitely, yes.
And the battery's probably just going to die quickly. I find too, even just now with a mirrorless camera, in regular weather, my batteries die quickly. So this will be my first real winter using it. I'll be curious how much more it gets zapped.
I think in normal conditions, when you are around 5, 6, 7 degrees Celsius, I don't know what it's in Fahrenheit, you don't really need to worry about it too much. It's not that crazy. But once you start to get to 0 and below 0, that's where you will really start to see the difference. And I think it's really simple, the solution, as you say, just keep it close to you. Some jackets have these kind of inside pockets, which are kind of inside, and you can just keep the batteries there. And as long as you're aware that that's what's going to happen, because of the cold temperatures slow down the chemical reaction inside the batteries, that's why they run out faster, then you're fine. So where in the summer, I generally go with just one battery because I know I'm going to be fine for the full day. Maybe in the winter, I bring 3. I keep the 2 extra inside of my jacket, and I never really had an issue.
Probably also a good idea, if you take a little break and warm up in your car, to have a battery charger for your car.
That's a great point.
Too, so you can charge them up. I just found mine. It wasn't in my car. It was in my house. So I'm going to put it back into my car for the winter.
Oh, that's always a good idea. Yeah. I once drove 2.5 hours to the location to realize that all my batteries are empty and I don't have a charger with me. So I had to drive 2.5 hours back. So 5 hours of drive, completely useless.
Wow.
Don't follow the example. Get your charger into the car. Good point.
Bring a few extra charged batteries with you in the winter. All right. Now we've talked about condensation already, but I think the plastic bags is kind of a necessity when we're coming back in to the house or leaving our little excursion. Shouldn't we put those back into the bag and take the memory card out first, and then put your camera gear back into the plastic bag before you go into warmer temperatures?
Yes. And technique is, again, similar to what we were talking about in our episode about traveling with your gear. So when it gets humid, and obviously in winter, it gets more humid, it's not necessarily a big deal when you're going out because it will adjust slowly from the warmer to the colder. It's a bigger problem when you return back. So it can be hotel room, just like it can be your own home. And we talk about the technique of when you arrive home, put on your bed one clean towel, put all your gear on that towel and outside of the Ziplocs and everything. And on the top of it, put another towel. And this way, it will adjust to the temperature and humidity much slower. Now, if there is a condensation, don't try to wipe it away. Don't try to do nothing with it. Give it the time first to try to do it naturally, because sometimes it will just disappear on its own and you don't have to deal with it. And once you start to wipe it around, it creates a drops, means more water, and it can be more risky. So I think for the condensation and the humidity, this can be really tricky, but as long as you follow the right steps, which I just talked about, I think it can be easily avoided.
Okay. Well, all right, folks, as chilling as this episode is, we do need to take a short break. We'll be right back.
If you're listening to the LumiCast podcast, then we share something in common. We love editing photos, and we love Luminar. It's almost breathtaking what this amazing tech can do for you. On our website, you'll find countless different things to help you be more creative than you ever thought imaginable. From our photo manipulation masterclass to our power bundle with 986 elements, our essential preset bundle, editing software and extensions to our tutorials. Harness the power at the website at www.cleverphotographer.com/Luminar. Again, that's cleverphotographer.com/Luminar. Now, back to LumiCast.
All right, and we're back. So we're still kind of on the topic of condensation and getting back into our home and putting our gear back where it belongs, but there's still a few steps we need to take and things we need to know that can happen to our gear if we don't dry everything off properly. So regarding that zipped up bag, you don't want to really leave it in there for a long time. So maybe Jacob will tell us how long you need to leave it in there for. But also, I don't know if you're aware that your camera can get fungus if you leave it all wet like that. So if you have camera fungus, you better get to the doctor ASAP. All right, Jacob, tell me more about this. It sounds frightening.
Yes, and I mean, I guess because we're talking about camera gear, we are more surprised, but it's not a surprise. We've seen it with other things. Let's say that you come back with wet jacket and you just kind of, like when I was 16, coming back and throw it in a corner of the room and left it there for 2 months. You know, when you open it, there will be mushroom or something on it. And this is exactly the same idea, but obviously it can go much faster. Now, yes, Holly already touched on the fact that when it comes to the Ziploc bag or whatever, what I would do, I would unzip it, leave it in the bag and put it also under this towel. So you have your gear on a towel and under the towel, and the Ziploc bags, just open them and put them next to it too. So this way you're not removing them again very quickly. They are open. They have a time to acclimatize this size and everything is good. After a few hours, uncover the top towel and just do screen check, double check. Is it humid? Does it have a condensation? Is it wet? Most of the time it will not be. If it is, just take dry towel or take dry camera cloth and just dry it down. So that's all there. If you do that, you don't have to worry about fungus and you don't have to see anybody about it. Where I think it can be really tricky is the camera bag. This is where it really goes, because camera bag inside have a mesh and have a different fabrics. And if it's not dried properly, this is usually where the mushroom or fungus start without us even knowing. And then maybe 3-4 weeks later, you actually put your camera thing inside and it's not humid, it's fine, but this is where it can actually come over and it can start to spread. Things that the fungus like is humidity, which we talk about. So this is why it's always good to have this silica gels inside of your bag anyway. It also like darkness, and that's where we keep our gear most of the time. It's like still air. And this is why I always think that it's good when you come home to have the camera bags open. I think it's good to have it, fresh air. And it like organic material. So this is why inside of the bag is the most risky place, because obviously that it like to grow there. So to avoid it, always dry and acclimatize your gear and dry properly your bag, which can be simply by taking everything out, opening it completely, putting it next to the heater or putting it on a dry place.
And don't pull up a chair next to the fireplace and put your camera next to it.
That's not a great idea. You're right. Very good.
Well, those are good tips because I do feel like it's very easy to neglect your camera equipment. You just kind of take it for granted and don't think about having to dry it off or, dry your bag out and everything in these different weather conditions. So if anything, it's hopefully people will learn a little something today about taking better care of their stuff in the winter. That kind of segues too. You talked a little earlier about insurance. Would insurance cover fungus, or is that really just user error? It's a good idea to still have insurance. We mentioned that on a different episode, in case you do fall down in the snow, or maybe that your insurance would help cover the cost of certain repairs.
Yeah, 100%. I think depends on the insurance. Of course, you want to really find out what it will and what it will not cover. But recently, as you know, I got involved more in photography workshops and traveling with other people and students. So I got a little bit more involved in the whole idea of the insurance. And honestly, again, I can't stress it more. It's not to make you worry or it's not to make you feel scared. It's just, it really gives you whole amount of freedom in the thinking on how you use your camera, and it allows you to focus on the composition, allows you to focus on photography, when at the back of your mind you have this feeling of, if worse come worse, I have the insurance, I'm protected. Because I can't stress it more. I've seen it in Scotland, I've seen it in Czech Republic. When you see a photographer who obviously spent lots of money, thousands of dollars, and they don't have the insurance and they are really afraid of their gear. It's just overtake completely the thinking as a photographer. You worry about every drop, you worry about every snowflake, and you worry about the temperature, and it just doesn't allow you to think creatively. So do the insurance, it's worth it. Make sure that you read what exactly it covers, and then you will have a massive freedom for your next adventure.
So it's really time to get excited about winter photography. Make sure you get your favorite beanie hat ready and your gloves and all of your warm winter clothing, and prepare yourself and get out there and get some great shots.
Exactly. And make sure you share them with us. You can find us at Clever Photographer all across the social media, or you can even post under some of these podcasts, depending where you listen to us. So we can't wait to see your winter captures. Anyway, that's it from me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jacob. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
And that's a wrap. Now, there's only 3 things left to do. Subscribe to this podcast so you never miss a future episode. Visit our website at cleverphotographer.com/LumiCast to see what we have in store next. And stay creative and keep editing your photos no matter what anyone says.